Welcome everybody to Challenge Athletes Live. My name is Bob Babbitt, co-founder of Challenge Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, we're talking a three-time Paralympian, two-time in swimming and one time in paratriathlon. Mr. Mark Barr joins us. Mark, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure to catch up with you. So you've been you've been a nurse for how long now?
So I got my BSN in 2011, and I worked in the trauma surgical ICU here in Houston for 7 years, 7.5 years. Yeah.
But now you're what, going into your second year in school for a further degree?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I'm in the CRNA nurse anesthesia program here at UT in Houston, and it's a 3-year program. I just finished my first year and then I got another half year of classroom work, and then I started a year and a half clinical.
So, Mark, how old were you when you lost your leg to cancer?
I was 14. I was diagnosed with bone cancer, osteosarcoma, and it was in the growth plate of the tibia of my right leg. And
at that point, I'm assuming you were an athlete doing a lot of different sports?
Yep. Swimming, baseball, soccer were my main sports. I had 2 older brothers. My mom was a PE teacher, so sports was a huge part of our life. Swimming was my main sport. I was swimming against Michael Phelps back in the day when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Programs, yeah. And Tommy Zafaris too, which was pretty cool. I saw some old programs. My mom keeps everything. She's a scrapbooker, so it was pretty cool to track back and see some of the big names I used to swim against.
That is very cool. So actually, I represent Katie Zafaris. I'm her agent.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I'm in touch with Tommy all the time. That's very cool. I didn't realize you swam against him. He's a hell of a swimmer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's always first out of the water. Yep.
So when you get diagnosed and you know you're going to lose your leg, or did they try to save it for a while? What was the process there?
Yeah, I think just for like the initial shock, they didn't want to say like immediately you have to get your leg amputated. Kind of like Travis Ricks, and I know a lot of people that had bone cancer. They tried to soften the blow with the idea of limb salvage. So that sounded the best initially, and then we learned that limb salvage, you can't really be as much of an athlete. And then we were kind of in limbo. We didn't know what the right decision was. And fortunately or unfortunately, the tumor was growing so much that I didn't have the choice at the end of the day. They said they had to amputate, which ended up being the biggest blessing of all.
What was the toughest adaptation for you after you had your leg amputated?
Well, I wanted to get back into sport so bad. Like even when I was going through chemotherapy and everything, I remember going out and trying to play baseball and just seeing that as an above the knee amputee, it's pretty hard to maneuver in the infield. I was second baseman, pitcher. So just kind of like trying everything and realizing that some things would be a lot more difficult. And then like swimming was easy because I could just jump in the pool, take my leg off. And I was really grateful for swimming. But yeah, I didn't get a running leg for 8 years after being an amputee. So yeah, just learning that some things you're not going to be fortunate enough to be able to do if you don't have the right support in place. So,
what was the lowest point for you?
I didn't think it was going to be the day of my amputation, but it was for sure. Just the uncertainty and like the reality of the magnitude of what I was up against, and I knew it was something that was threatening my life. But I think it all became a reality whenever I was in the operating room or the pre-op room before my surgery, realizing that this is so serious that I'm going to never walk on 2 feet again.
When did you realize there was a thing called the Paralympics, and because you were a hell of a swimmer, maybe there was a possibility you could go?
Yeah, so it was an eventful day. So I went into surgery, ultimate low, and then I woke up and my recovery room nurse was an amputee herself. I regret not getting her name, but she was actually a Paralympic swimmer, and told my parents before I had woken up from surgery that about her background. They had noticed she was an amputee, and they're like, "Oh, you got to meet her son. Like he just had his leg amputated." And so when I woke up, it was like she had all this information she couldn't wait to share with me, and I was like, I couldn't wait to receive it. So it was just the perfect pair, and that's kind of how I got into nursing and was like wanted to give back, and I wanted to be that person for other people.
So heading towards Athens, and now all of a sudden there's a goal, right? Because you know about swimming and getting in and going through the trials and qualifying to go to Athens. Because I'm guessing when you're a kid, you're thinking, hey, I want to go to the Olympics. just like Michael Phelps and Tommy Zafaris and everybody else. Now you're going to the Paralympics, which is, people don't realize how big the Paralympics is. Going to Athens, how special was that for you?
Yeah, well, I'll just say as reference point, like I was kind of cocky when I first started doing Paralympic swimming, because I was swimming against Michael Phelps and Tommy Zafaris. Like I was a legit swimmer, 8th in the nation for two-legged able-bodied people in the 200 IM, and it was like I could hold my own. And then I went out and got my butt handed to me, and it was so cool. It's just what I needed, and it made me.
You needed the humbling, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I actually never medaled. I still haven't medaled in Paralympics, so I've gone to 3 of them. But yeah, I mean, it was just what I needed, and like have that camaraderie with people that similar disabilities, and you learn so much. Is so much more than just sport whenever you go out to that. But yeah, so to answer your question, Athens and being able to represent your country and a full stadium, have my parents, my family come out. It was just kind of like a celebration of life almost, because it wasn't that far removed from surviving cancer in 2002.
Well, you think about it, a lot of times with our athletes, one door closes and another one opens up. And here you are in Athens, your family's there, you're marching and opening and closing ceremonies. It's the biggest stage there is. And then 4 years later, you're in Beijing doing it again. Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, well, it's cool because if you have the right support system, you have people that encourage you and try, and if you have the right mindset, I think, and you're optimistic and you take on challenges and you're open to trying new things, because some people can just shut down. So I was fortunate to have Challenge Athletes Foundation, to have my parents, my family, and everybody support me and kind of show me the way. So
what did CAF bring to you?
My first running leg, for sure. So I got my first running leg from CAF. I got my first bike from CAF. When I was at school at Cal Poly, I had a friend that was doing the $1 Million Challenge, and he was coming down the coast, and he said, "Would you mind coming on out to Pismo Beach to speak to the group? They would love to meet you." And I knew a little bit about, from Rudy Garcia Tolson and competing with him and everything. I knew about Challenge Athletes Foundation. But I didn't know a whole lot. And so going out there and meet 110 people that are raising that amount of money and support for people like myself was really cool. And I was hooked, and I got my first bike immediately after that. I was inspired by Andy Hatcher and some of the other cyclists. There were amputees going down the coast doing the whole 7-day event, Patty Collins, and got my first bike and did the ride the following year. So been close with CAF ever since, for sure.
Now, for paratriathlon, when did you make that move? You swam twice in the Paralympics, and now the 2012 paratriathlon is not part of the games yet. Were you going for another swim team in 2012?
No, so that's another CAF story. I was retiring, and I was like, I'm done with swimming. I swam 5 years. I swam like 15 years of my life, double days, 20 hours a week. I was just like burnt out, and but I still wanted to be an athlete. And the Wildflower Triathlon is just up the coast from Cal Poly.
Yep.
And had some friends that were out there, and they met Travis. They met the CAF tent that was out there. Because they're all medical, so they're volunteering for the medical tent. And then the following year, Travis invited me out there, so I went out there, did that, and then they saw that I finished the race and that I was fairly athletic, and CAF invited me out to New York City to do the national championships.
Yeah, part of New York City. Now wait a second. Did you do the full Wildflower?
Oh no, sorry, it was the Olympic. The Olympic.
It was still tough. That climb out of the transitions there.
Yeah. Hits your face right when you get on the bike, for sure. And that was, I mean, it's funny to think back, because back in the day, my leg was falling off like left and right. It was just like trying to piece it all together. I didn't know what I was doing, so it was just kind of like finishing was like a huge accomplishment. And Muhammad was doing Muhammad Lana.
Yes.
And I did a couple of those together and had a lot of fun. And so Roy Perkins invited me out to New York City Triathlon. He said, "We'll pay your way with CAF if you want to come out." And I was like, "Sure, go swim in the Hudson." And did that a couple years. And really, Paralympics wasn't even a consideration for triathlon at that point.
No, it sort of happened pretty suddenly. And then for 2016, it became a reality. And is that when how far was it, 2014 or so, where you said, okay, wait a second, maybe I can go to another games?
Yeah, I mean, well, I love the lifestyle of triathlon, so I'm going to be a triathlete regardless. And it was just like it just made me want to step up my game that much more. And then there was the CAF Elite Triathlon team that was formed to kind of pushed us over the edge, which helped us with funding. And that was, I mean, we had some great years with JP and Jamie and Sarah Reinertson. We're traveling to Spain with Mark Sortino and everything. That was phenomenal. And we really did, even though we were different disabilities, like I talked to JP, he's like, you challenged me in the pool and showed me the way. And like, so we learned so much. I think we really did raise the bar for paratriathlon from when CAF started that team in 2012.
So not only going to the Paralympics in 2016, but it's the first time paratriathlon is in the Paralympics in Rio.
Yep.
And I was down there watching that, and that was such a spectacle. Just being part of something like that, because like you said, 4 years earlier, no one would have thought we were going to be in the games. And then we're in the games with this sport, this sort of brand new sport. And you've been doing the sport for a while. You're already 4-time ITU Paratriathlon World Championship medalist and 9-time ITU Paratriathlon Series medalist. You accomplished so much. Going to Rio now as a triathlete, was that different than going there as a swimmer?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, you're outdoors. I mean, that's the cool thing. That's what I love so much about triathlon is you're outdoors, you're in the elements, and we're on Copacabana Beach, one of the nicest beaches in the world. And we're playing, you know, we're swimming and biking up and running down the beach. I mean, it was unbelievable. And all the locals were out lining the course. There wasn't an inch of course that wasn't lined with somebody cheering you along. Yeah, I mean, it was, and my parents again have come down, and my brother came down. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. We get to race against it's a tight knit group of people that are the elite triathletes. So we've been racing all over the world and become good friends. And Mohammed Lana is one of my best friends. I was talking to him the other day. He had a phenomenal race. he beat me out for the third place medal. Very happy.
Had you ever lost to that guy before?
I mean, I'd have to look back, but at an ITU race, I do not believe so. Maybe he was.
I don't think you had. Sure. What was different that day is not often you guys have to deal with any type of surf.
Yeah.
Right? You had a little bit of surf. I think you had a problem with the liner, and next thing you know, Muhammad's got a little bit of a gap.
Yeah.
And hotter than crap out there, and you're trying the whole race. You're trying to catch him, trying to wheel him in.
Yeah. Well, I like to tell him that I had the fastest swim, bike, and run splits, but transition killed me. So I had the slowest transition, but that's what triathlon is swim, bike, run, and transition. And I learned the tough lesson that day. So.
Yeah, but again, like I bet you even with that, you had a big smile on your face all day. You're on the biggest stage on the planet. Everybody's watching, and it's, you know, Mohammed's your friend, but on race day, you want to take him down. He wants to take you down, but that's the purity of sport, right? Yeah. That's what it's all about.
And we laugh about it to this day. So he says, "Oh, I want to race you again." I said, "Me too. Trust me, I do."
Well, and the thing that bummed me the most, and I'm sure you guys even more, you've got this category, you've been in the Paralympics, and then was it a year later, 2 years later, where they go, "Oh, your category's gone. You won't be in 2020."
Yeah. So ITU and IPC, International Paralympic Committee, were trying to figure out what they're going to do with 2020.
Yeah.
We thought that our category was really entertaining, and it was, 4 people that were finishing within 16 seconds.
Yes.
The top 4 people were within 16 seconds after an hour racing.
Right.
And 5th place wasn't that much further behind, like 25 seconds. So to have 5 people finishing within 25 seconds of each other, I think we put on a pretty good show and proved that we were competitive. But that being said, yeah, so having not medal, I was extremely motivated and training 2017, 2018. 2018 was my best year, and I'd gone undefeated in the ITU circuit. And it was a month before 2018 World Championships, they made the announcement that our category was not going to be competitive in Tokyo. So then everyone was just scrambling, trying to figure out, what do we do? Do we even go to World Championships anymore? Or what's the plan going forward? So. And
then, 2019, weren't you a World Cup medalist for paratriathlon?
2019, I still raced some. 2018 was my best year for sure.
Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously you're still at the top of the game. And then we all thought after 2016, they would add categories because the event was so successful. Yeah. And it was plenty of room, right? There was plenty of space to add more categories. And it was one of the most entertaining events of the games. Mm-hmm. So that took everybody by surprise when they eliminated categories. So
yeah,
Crazy.
I'm a little biased, I'm sure, but I think if you're for Paralympics, it's like overcoming your disability. I don't think there's a better way to prove overcoming your disability than swim, bike, and run.
No question.
Doing it all.
So when you find out that the category's gone, I know Muhammad decided I'll go for cycling and I'll try that. What was going through your head?
I had always wanted to go back to school.
Yeah.
So for me, it was kind of like a nice gentle push to, now's the time to go back to school. And so it worked out well for me that I got this 3-year program. I'll be done in 2022, and then the plan is to keep on keeping on after that.
How have you gotten through the craziness of the pandemic at this time? What's gotten you through this?
My girlfriend and I have literally ran, I think, every single day. So I actually just broke my running socket, cracked in half the other day, because I was like, well, COVID didn't kill me, but it killed my running socket. Because we have literally ran every single day just to like get out and get some vitamin D for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it is.
Sanity, getting that sanity, right?
Yeah.
I think people sometimes underestimate the power of sport. How important has sport been in your life?
Oh, I mean, sport is my identity. And that's was the scariest thing for me whenever I had my leg was going through cancer and amputation. It was threatening my identity. I've always identified as an athlete. So it's extremely important for physical, mental, all of it. Like even going through school and everything, it was like I still have to get out and get 1 or 2 workouts in every single day, whatever it is. So it's the best medicine for sure.
No question. Okay, going to rapid fire now. Best CAF memory.
Best CAF memory. Riding down the coast for $1 Million Challenge, and then coming down to the Cove and having all the supporters with the finishing arch and everything, finishing that ride was awesome.
Cool. The Tunnel of Love with all of our kids putting medals on you guys. That's pretty cool. Yeah. What's your go-to comfort food?
Go-to comfort food. Oh man, it's got to be ice cream, I guess. Yeah, especially now that it's so hot here. Mint chip.
Most recent TV show binge.
Narcos. Colombia.
Favorite book or podcast?
The Secret Race by Charlie
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Daniel Coyle, who wrote that book, right? I was interviewing him. I was at the Tour de France. I was in a bathtub at the Tour de France, trying to be quiet because it was like 3 a.m. or something. My co-host was in San Diego, and Daniel lives in Alaska. That's how we interviewed him about Secret Race.
That's cool.
The person you miss seeing the most through all this?
My family, because I was supposed to go back for Mother's Day, and now can't go back for Mother's Day. So.
Well, place you can't wait to visit when this is all over, I'm assuming. Back with the family. Back
with the family, camping. We're supposed to go to Norway. That didn't happen.
You weren't doing
Northman.
No, good man.
Someday, not this year.
So, do we see an Ironman in your future or longer distance stuff?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I want to do Kona for sure.
I think you could do some damage there. I think you could go pretty fast.
Yeah.
What's the record for above knee, I wonder? We'll have to figure that out.
It's got to be Muhammad, I think, probably.
Yes. Oh, well, then that's the ultimate revenge, right? Take his record down. What words do you love to hear from a coach?
Job well done.
What words do you hate to hear from a coach?
You had more left in the tank.
So for our challenge athletes who are out there watching this, who are struggling, this has been a tough time. Like you said, our identity sometimes is our sport. And when you can't do that sport, you really struggle. What's your message for our challenge athlete folks who are out there struggling? Yeah,
I think just try and keep your days as normal as possible. Figure out what you can do to stay active. Do something active every single day. It's super important. And lean on your support, Challenge Athletes Foundation, other peers. We're all in this together, so we can definitely rally together and get through this together.
Love it. Mark Barr has been our guest again, Challenge Athletes Live. Mark, thank you so much for taking so much time, buddy. Appreciate all your support of CAF.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right. Everybody check us out. We're on every Tuesday and Thursday, Challenged Athletes Live. Appreciate everybody tuning in.